Wonderful, thanks Wendy. Welcome everybody. As Wendy's already introduced, my name is Simon Brook and this is Kay. You'll hear a little bit about our story coming up shortly, and we're talking to you today about young people in Rotary and obviously membership. A little bit about myself. I began my Rotary journey in 2012. I was selected on a GSE team to Wisconsin. 2 years later I came back and joined Surfer Sunrise, and this year is actually my year as a president. So I'm 7 weeks into it, and it's a lot of fun. So, and Kay can tell her story.
Oh yeah, sure. So I think Wendy's already told all the good bits anyway, and she's going to ring the bell if I start talking about my exchange. So I came from Boona, which is about an hour and a bit, depending how you drive, inland from the lovely GC. And they have a beautiful Rotary Club out there that did a lot of work with me when I was younger, so that's kind of when I started. But I wanted to stay in 9640. I actually live in Brisbane now, so my fabulous E-Club is my way of doing that, and they've been very supportive. And that's it, yeah. So I'm going to be president in a little bit, so I'm just letting Simon do all the hard work now. I'm going to steal all his tips for next year. So.
And Kay did mention that she was actually a Paul Harris Fellow last year, so congratulations.
Thanks.
So today we're here to convince you that young people want to join Rotary. It sounds pretty simple, it sounds pretty optimistic. There's a but. As we're all aware, and this is an ongoing problem, how do we go about doing it? So we can ask the crowd for what the problem is, but here's a few that we've come up with. Can everybody read that okay? No? Okay.
That's okay. We'll read it to you. So the first one is Rotary is becoming more disconnected from young people. So not maybe overall. Obviously all of our youth programs are still fabulous, but maybe on a deeper level, becoming more disconnected.
Struggling to keep up with change, particularly with the advent of technology. Rotary seems to be having a bit of trouble keeping up with that.
This was Simon's one, but Rotary is becoming extinct.
Scary. And bridging the generational gap, which I guess is what we're all here for, and that's essentially what the main drive for membership is, getting young people into Rotary. So with that, those who were at the conference would recognise this little slide. It's basically a nice little image that shows the evolution of communication. So we've got a bunch of seniors there with a little text that says write me. The next one is a baby boomer who says call me. The Gen X, which is the next one, that says email me. And then the Gen Y says text me. The scary part is that I'm a Gen Y and there's another 2 generations after me. And so we look at things like Snapchat and Twitter and Facebook, and these are the types of communication tools that people are using these days. And if we're not getting on board and we're not following that trend, then we're not actually communicating to the younger people. So I guess how does Rotary actually communicate to the young people? Well, there's a few hints, I guess. The big question is, does Rotary even want young people? So, I mean, I'll throw that out to you. Apparently there's this kind of stigma that young people just sit at the dinner table and text each other and they don't talk and communicate and socialise anymore. So, you tell me, do we actually want young people in Rotary? Is Rotary ready to shake it up and get some young people in? Yes?
You do?
Yeah,
Are you
okay.
sure?
Beautiful.
2 very different questions.
Because if not, then our job is done and I'm out of here.
Yeah, we're going to the beach.
So
or Simon's moving house, actually.
Yeah. So if we could just go through some of the challenges.
Finding them. So what is your club currently doing, or can it do, to actually find people that are in the age group that you want to recruit? And when you talk about young people, it's actually quite a wide age group. Are you talking young, like still in school, coming out of school? Are you talking young like me? Are you talking young like Simon? Are you talking young like 40? Are you talking young at heart? So what are you talking about when you're talking about young people, and how do you find them? What avenues are you using to actually find the people that you eventually want to recruit?
Are we going to roam mic this thing?
Yeah, we can.
We've essentially got a mic that we can walk around. If anybody has anything that they want to throw into the discussion, then please let us know. And if anybody has any successful tips to share with the group, now's probably the right platform for that. But if anybody knows any other way to find young people or where to find them, please feel free to chuck your hand up.
I've got my running shoes on today, so I'm ready to go.
We've got a suggestion, which is basically don your disco gear and head to the nightclubs. But
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure everybody wants to do that. So, I mean, it's always one of the challenges. The next one is actually communicating with them, and we touched on that before, but yeah, we don't write letters. We don't, probably don't even call, actually, or email these days.
As Wendy knows, sometimes us young people are not the greatest at replying to emails. Sorry, Wendy.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any tips on what their club is currently doing, communicating with people that aren't necessarily members but would like to be? Yeah?
I'll talk to anyone that'll listen. And so far I've got a collection of 8 email addresses that I send our program to. Unfortunately, it's not working that well for me because I haven't got anyone to a meeting yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm still trying.
Yeah, great.
Absolutely.
Some good advice? Keep trying.
In terms of communication, I don't know who knows any of those little abbreviations up on there. So not only is it communication, but it's also language. There seems to be a bit of an evolution of the way that we communicate in terms of letters and sentences now. So I mean, I'll throw it out to you guys. Who can understand that and who communicates that way on a regular basis? Because they're potentially the people that you're trying to get in.
Despite the fact that I'm past the middle of 70, I do use these communications. I don't think I could translate them all. But my real heartfelt advice to all of us is, if we're not up to speed in the modern communication, then accept the challenge and make some progress, because only in that way are we going to be communicating across generations.
Absolutely, good point. And the other part to that is that there's always something changing, there's always something being invented, and the longer you leave it to catch up with the way that we're communicating, the harder it is to bridge that gap. So
Yeah.
we'll jump to the next one, engaging young people in Rotary. I mean, that's a topic by itself, but under the assumption that you can find them and communicate with them, how do you actually engage them? How do you get young people involved in Rotary and you know, engaged in it? Is Rotary relevant to what young people want to do these days?
I think the first move is to ask them what they expect out of Rotary and how we can change to meet their expectations.
Wonderful, good point. Talk to them, ask them.
Yep.
We'll touch on that later on.
You can also realise that you have a lot to offer besides membership.
Yeah.
A lot. We're going to come to that in a second. The best thing... No, stop following me, Rick. The best thing... Who had their hand? Best thing my original club and my beautiful club now did is they kept contact. And they kept it going. So I got the emails, and Ingrid tagged me in a billion things on Facebook, and you know, and they kept inviting me to stuff, and they kept making those options open. And it wasn't always about membership. It wasn't always, Kay, come join our club. It was, Kay, do you want to do this? Kay, you're free this weekend, you come get down and see us. Kay, do you want to go on this youth program? 5 years of trying, and she finally got there. Well done. You know, so there's lots that you can offer besides membership that's actually engaging them in Rotary. It's Rotary as a whole, not just your club. Do you want to go?
I think if we're going to engage with youth, it's not just about selling the message, because it's no good trying to sell a stale message. The perception out there is that Rotary is for old people, and until we can convince the youth that they're going to have a voice, we haven't got progression. So it really is about changing that perception and then engaging in their communications, be it Twitter, be it Facebook, whatever. But until we change the perception, we're selling a stale message.
Absolutely. Good point.
Yeah.
And that really comes down to the PR as well, which Michael touched on before. I'll throw an idea out to you. Would you try not mentioning the word Rotary at all to somebody? If you had a good guest speaker, or you had a wonderful program or something that you were doing, would you be willing to approach a young person and say, I've got a really good guest speaker, they'll be talking about this, I think you'd really get a lot out of it. Would you like coming to the breakfast or the lunch or the dinner to meet the guest speaker? There's no mention of Rotary.
Thanks, Kay. Heather Yarker from the Rotary Club of Ashmore. Last weekend we had a barbecue at Bunnings at Oxenford, and we didn't have enough people to come and help us. So we had 6 young people come from Bow Desert. 3 were from a foster family and 3 were exchange students. And it was interesting that the public were overwhelmed by having young people to serve them their sausages. And they all made comments how wonderful it was having young people involved.
Beautiful.
Wonderful.
Beautiful. Just remember too, there's a difference between an invitation and an expectation. Yeah? So the difference between inviting a young person to come and help you and expecting them to show up. Yeah? Big difference. All right.
Yeah, with, again, not actually with any expectation at this immediate moment of young people joining the club, but again, engaging them, interacting with the young people. We're just starting to organise working with the local scout group in our town, where they come along and a couple at a time and help us out with our barbecue, which we hold every weekend. Introduce them to community, gives them more confidence and that sort of thing. Down the line, they may be members, you know what I mean? So.
Wonderful, absolutely. And of course, I guess the last part to all of that is retaining them. So actually keeping young people engaged, be it in Rotary or service or whatever it is. Obviously, we live in a very stimulated, fast-moving world these days, and it's quite easy to get bored. So not only getting the young people in, but actually having something for them to do and take ownership of and actually work, because the last thing that I know I want to do is go to a breakfast or a lunch every week and leave feeling pretty hollow and not have anything to do. So actually retaining them and giving them something purposeful to do is pretty big. Yep. So I guess the next one is what young people want. So we'll run through these, I guess.
Yep.
There's been 1,000 million surveys out there on what young people want from life and what they want as young professionals and whatever else there is. And I'll flick through a few of them. The first one is personal development skills, and I think that's a pretty broad topic. But things like etiquette, things like speaking skills, things like general communication skills, networking, all those type of personal skills that people generally look forward to if they've got a mentor or somebody as well.
Mentoring is a big one. So for anyone, there were a few people that I met down in Canberra last year, and we did a bunch of work with young people in Rotary and in different areas, and that was number one. It's the number one best thing that you as a Rotarian can offer a young person in general, but any young person that you want to develop and grow within the Rotary family, that one, number one.
Absolutely. And that, I guess, overlaps with professional skills. So most people who are entering the workforce, young professionals, they actually want the knowledge, they want the skills, they want a mentor to teach them how to run a business, how to network, how to work efficiently, how to recruit people. All those types of skills that will help them succeed in life and in their profession. They're actually after those people, and through mentoring programs and things like that. Think back to when you were at that stage in your career. Who did you look up to? What were you after? The situation, even though the world's changed, actually is very similar to what it was in terms of what people's needs are. Social interaction?
Big one.
Yeah.
So it's pretty straightforward, isn't it? You all get that one. Rotarians get this one.
Yeah.
Right? You get it.
Yeah, we're a social mob and connected more than ever. So social interaction is really important. One thing as well with all of the technology, young people actually become quite isolated because they're so fixated on looking at the screen. So the physical social interaction with people and communicating is actually a really important part. And
Number 2 on my list from Canberra. No one wants to come to a meeting every week and do just that. And do just that. No one. The reason people want to join your club... You want me to talk out? Oh, you can't read it.
Community participation.
Community participation. We want to do stuff. That's why we join. right? We're not coming to have a lovely dinner once a week. We do that with our friends on Saturday night. Yeah? We are coming to join your club because we want to do work in our community. And if you stick us doing social media stuff, because we're the one person in the club that can work Facebook, and that's all you let us do, we are going to leave. Okay? And it's not just community participation, it's meaningful community participation. We might have a project that we really like, that we want to learn how to do. We're coming to you to learn the personal development skills, professional skills, and get the mentoring for us to be able to run those projects. And that's what we're there for.
But what you're saying isn't peculiar to your age group.
No. No.
Anyone who comes to Rotary wants that.
Yeah.
So whilst I understand that that's what we need to focus on, the reason that people struggle with membership for any generational age group is because people want to do that.
Yeah, totally agree. So if your club isn't offering that, you're going to strike a really big problem. What projects is your club doing? What projects is your club doing that are enticing to people, not just in the young age group, but you're right, in every age group? Are they exciting? Are they interesting? Are they something that people actually want to put their hand up and actually show up on a Saturday morning for?
I think today we are competing against a lot of other people in groups that want to do good for the community. So young people can join these groups and not have to pay a membership fee and not have the restriction of having to come to meetings. So we have to offer these kids something else for their money. They can go and do good and not pay any money and do community work. So I think for our club you have to pay $250 a year. Kids can go and do other community projects and not pay a cent. So I think that's what we're competing against as well.
Yeah. That's a good point. Great.
So with that, I'm going to put up 4 points. Is that working? 4 points that essentially sums up what Rotary is about. Personal development, business development, friendship, and making a difference. Now, the district conference just recently in our district, Ian Risley got up and said that exact same thing. There are 4 things that sums up everything that Rotary sets out to achieve. Personal development, business development, friendship, and making a difference. So, if that's what Rotary sets out to do, and those are the things that young people want, then what you'll see is there's actually a lot of similarities. In fact, all of the things that young people want are actually the things that Rotary offer. So it's not necessarily that we're doing things wrong, it's that we're not reaching out to the young people.
Yep.
So with that, young people want to join Rotary, but they just don't know it yet. I'll leave that with you. So the question really is, how can we attract young members into Rotary? And I guess we'll throw this out to you guys, but is it something that Rotary needs to change about the way it's perceived to make it more enticing to young people? And I'll throw a few things up there, but we'll open up to the floor. But challenging and stimulating, like I mentioned before, young people don't like to sit around and do nothing. Social interaction, we've already touched on. Affordable, you made a very good point about there's a lot of other service and good projects that you can do out there for nothing. So how does Rotary actually compete in that space? Flexible.
Big one.
Yeah.
Big one.
And efficient.
Equal biggest. Seriously, there's nothing. So like, you guys are busy, right? There's no one in this room that isn't busy. Young people tell you that they're busier, but they're really not. All right? But we feel that we are. And if we're doing stuff where people are talking for 30 minutes when it could be done in 5, pet hate. Okay? And we probably won't come back next week because we assume that next week some other old person is going to stand up, or young person, I talk a lot, all right, and do the same thing. Talk for 30 minutes when you could talk for 5. Or spend 6 weeks talking about a project and not doing it. Right? When you could have been doing the project for the 6 weeks. Okay? So all of them are important, but being efficient, it doesn't get discussed very much, but it's a real just little niggler that can really undermine all the other good work that you've done. So this comes back into how you're running your club and how you're offering your club. So all the other stuff about promoting and PR are no good if the changes in your club haven't been made first. Okay, you can't market a product that doesn't actually exist. So if you're saying, yeah, my club's super flexible and it's so great, we've got all these old projects and it's totally rad, but it's actually not. Okay, it's just redundant. Okay, flexible and efficient.
So, is your club ready? Are you willing to make the changes and compromise? And if you were, how much would you compromise? So we'll throw this one open to the floor, but what are some of the things that you would consider compromising or changing in your club or would like to see changed to potentially attract younger members? Members in general.
I'll go this way. It will surprise you sometimes too about the types of things that you think you need to change, but... Oh yeah, so we have two ladies that are perhaps a little bit well on in their years. And the first one goes, so she was like, no way. And the other one goes, oh my God. And the first lady goes, and I'm like, whatever. And the second lady's like, awesome. Just like that. Awesome. So now, all yours now.
One of the things I've thought, I was president of the club, we're only a new club, only 3 years old or so, and I was president, and I've got an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, so I'm actually on the PNC at the school as well, but we're looking at really getting the rider program and anything else, YEP, all those youth programs and that into the school, but also looking at there's 3 other clubs in our area, what things can we do which actually really interact with the kids or what they might want to participate in as well, and actually put them on our program for the year rather than just following the same old thing as well. And I think for some of the other clubs in our area that have been going for a long time in their 30s, actually have a look at what you've got on the program. Are you still doing it just because you've done it for the last 30 years? So,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Has any club actually asked young people from their Interact clubs or Ryler programs what they want? And genuinely listened?
I'll throw a few out to you. Hands up those who still sing the national anthem.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Rotary Grace.
Yeah.
Are there any other formalities that you think that you have at a meeting that may potentially limit the want for young people to come?
Again, not necessarily a problem. I thought of an analogy last night. The stuff that I tell you today, it's kind of like IKEA furniture, where you have to go home and unpack it and you're not sure that what we've told you is in English, and there's some spare bits left over that kind of seem really important, but maybe don't apply to what you've just built. That's what we're doing today. Okay? So if your club really wants to keep those things, keep them, right? Just make sure that the type of people that you're recruiting are the type of people that also want that. Okay? It's all you, Terry.
Thought I was back in my own club trying to get a word in. We do the 4-way test, and I think that that's relevant in life today as well as it was how many hundreds of years ago that was written. One of the other things that I'd like to put forward, I think if Rotaractors can cover their ears, I think Rotaract's run its course. I think Rotaract clubs or the younger generation should be included within a club. They can be their own group within a club. And I think we're going to have a heck of a lot more chance of that person, whether, if they leave for a while, of coming back to Rotary or staying in Rotary. A lot of Rotaract clubs are struggling to survive. There's plenty of big areas without Rotaract. So I think they should be contained within the club.
Yeah, great. Actually, Amanda, who's going to talk to you later today, and I talked about this the other day when we've been to stuff, and everyone under the age of 40 has been stuck in another room under the pretense of it being like a young Rotarian thing. It's like, what a gigantic waste. We actually came for the other stuff. Yeah? We're not like petting birds at a zoo, We can hang out.
Having been a Rotaractor before a Rotarian, when you couldn't be both, the biggest problem I had joining Rotary was actually having Rotarians accept me as a Rotarian and not as a kid. And I must admit, that cost my best mate. He left Rotary and has never gone back. And for the 25 years I was a member of that club, for only 3 times was I not the youngest member of that club. And it's a matter of actually accepting people for what they are, not using them as children, not using them as kids, but having them as Rotarians. And Rotaract, I do believe, has its place, having been one, and having supported the new clubs that we've started in the district. But the big problem Rotary has is accepting people for who they are and not putting them in a box.
Great. Great. Well done. We might have to push through, Simon, otherwise we're going to get the bell.
Yep.
Sorry for everyone where I was talking too quickly. I'll be around all day, so if I talked too quickly, because I'm nervous, please come and see me later.
Yeah. So in summary, I guess the point is that young people aren't that foreign to Rotary. Their goals and values and what they want out in life is actually very similar to what Rotary can offer. And Rotary does already offer it, but perhaps it's not communicating that to them. Perhaps the club isn't geared that way. So young people want to join Rotary, and it's up to us to make it happen. So as clubs and as districts and as Rotary as a whole, we need to make the changes that are more applicable to young people and to get them in. And with that, there's, I guess, a final quote that is, we need old friends to help us grow old and new friends to help us stay young.